topics live every evening 7 to 8 p.m. KFM Hot Seat in association with Nile Gold, a crystal malt lager beyond an ordinary malt.
Welcome back this edition of the 933 KFM Hot Seat. We'll continue the discussion following the death of Assistant Inspector of Police John Michael Ariong, who was laid to rest on Saturday in his home village in Komi district in Atutur sub-county. A listener here says, let the uninformed minister tell you, when did we organize an illegal rally? When does a rally become illegal? Is he telling the country that security was right to kill?
I just quoted to this last rally. Honorable Rukwago wrote a letter to Inspector Road, which ended up in demonstrations and rallies. Is that misleading? When I have just showed you his letter to the Inspector General of Police, when the contrary happened, and which led to those tragic circumstances?
Of course, I won't respond for the listener, for who sent the message.
Yeah.
But, Mr. Minister, the visit of the President to Naguru Police Barracks has brought to the fore another discussion that hasn't been really addressed. While the government has tried to equip the police, the conditions in which they live have largely been left unattended to. And the picture of the President in the sitting room of an officer in charge of a police unit who had given 26 years of service. What kind of story does it tell you? You were there with the President.
No, my senior minister was there. Honorable Hilary Onek was there with the President. It is true. The conditions under which our police live is deplorable. You go to Zambia, you go to Naguru, you go to any of the barracks around Kampala, is deplorable. But that doesn't mean the government is not doing anything about it.
What is the government doing?
We have initiated a project to upgrade the barracks around the city and the police stations through public-private partnership. We are going to embark on this very seriously when the law is in place. The bill is before Parliament right now, and I think the police department is going to be the first to try this arrangement, where the private sector brings investments while upgrading our police barracks and police stations around Kampala. Up country, we're already doing a lot, especially in northern Uganda. Police stations are being built and barracks. If you pass through Kiradongo, they have a good police station and good barracks.
Tokens of
it has to be token on given the size of resource we have at our disposal.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Last year, didn't your force actually borrow from a commercial bank just to continue equipping the police?
I'm not aware of that.
I'm telling you.
I'm not aware of that.
Anyway, the reality is that you just look out of the window, you see that where the police priorities lie. You have got significant mechanized transportation that costs a ton. There is investment in uniforms and equipment, in new vehicles, in surveillance equipment. This is where the police is putting its money.
In anti-riot gear.
If a policeman who...
So you say, Zama, would you prefer that we would withdraw the services of the police, the traffic, the fire brigade, and all that, and we concentrate on their welfare? Would you prefer that? We can do that, and entirely remove the police force from service to the public so that we can address the issues of their welfare.
Mr. Minister, let me just make an argument here. No one is saying it has to be either or. I'm simply saying that if you look at police budgeting, including borrowing under emergency.
I told you I don't know about the borrowing.
It's dedicated.
But I know the budget of the police because at least for this year's budget I participated in the negotiations.
It's dedicated.
And we are begging the allocations through cabinet to see that the police can get more, but you are told there are other priorities.
And I agree, even with the prisons, as Johnson Mbewa will tell you, particularly this show has supported increased spending to upgrade prisons and to improve welfare of prison officers. In the case of the police, the spending clearly is on hardware that is dedicated not so much, by the way, to the general policing needs, because we can look at them.
I'm very grateful. I'm in KFM today. I had not appeared here before, but thank you for this invitation. But when Monitor Publication started, there was no KFM. There wasn't this big structure. You started small and built incrementally to make Monitor Publication and KFM this size now. Why don't you allow us to...
Your point is that this is a work in progress.
Yes,
but
this is a work in progress.
Even when you examine where it is now, police preferentially spends on hardware. Any officer who
That's
is
not true.
Any officer who is leaving home will have a new uniform, a gun of maybe $5,000-6,000. He has access to a truck and transportation costs, pickups that cost $40,000.
Do you know how many policemen travel on these trucks? They are always crowded on these trucks.
But nonetheless, their living conditions remain bad. All we are saying is that at least if you're going to convince the police force, which by the way is a demotivated force as far as I know, that you have their welfare at heart, it must show up in the spending, and so far the evidence is to the contrary.
Give us time in the next 1 year or two, see whether there's no difference.
Mr. Minister,
but we're doing something about the police welfare.
Every successive reshuffle, the first question I have asked to a newly appointed Minister of Internal Affairs is what they are committing to do for the police force welfare. We speak on a daily basis to serving police officers. We meet them on the street, we have relatives in the police, and they talk of the deplorable conditions in which they live and how much the attention your government is giving is skewed.
Honorable Nick and myself have given our commitment to two areas. One, police welfare, and increased community policing.
What exactly are you going to do in police welfare?
Improve their living conditions, to begin with.
Your predecessors in that ministry said exactly the same.
I will speak for myself.
I have Charles is going to go into messages, but I have a quick question because of the violence, that seems to be recurring every time. Is it the view of the government that this is political violence or criminal action which the police is responding to?
This is political violence coupled with criminality, because the people who are being misled, then engage in criminality, pelting stones. Even civilians have been affected. Many people have lost their properties. Shops have been looted. Women have lost their kiosks in markets. Kiosks have been burnt arising from these demonstrations. Roads have been damaged when they burn tires and these kiosks which they destroy, they set fire on them on the roads. Huge damages.
Where do you draw the line? Because I find that this is a grey area, Charles. When you look at the case of Komakech in Buya, if you know the history of mob violence, mobs in Uganda probably kill more people than die in demonstrations from police police bullets. So confronting a violent mob with a weapon is what caused the crisis that we saw in Luzira. But then you have a situation where demonstrations occur. The police, which is being accused of being partisan, arrives, and violence is blamed on them. But if the demonstrations are organized by a political party, then one must assume that the interpretation is that this is a political event, even if criminality, both from the police side or even on the side of the crowd, occurs. I just don't know how this issue can be addressed. At least I haven't seen it well addressed in the public debates. Everyone is on one side or the other.
Well, the messages that have been coming across is that this regime must be overthrown by the end of this year. Some are saying by April this year it must be overthrown by whatever means. That's the message. Isn't that political?
Is the regime panicking?
Not at all.
Why the reaction?
Absolutely not.
Why the reaction that it's giving?
Which reaction? We're just trying to protect the public.
Deploying security forces with live ammunition on the streets.
Just protecting the public, because
protecting the public or protecting the regime.
Those who supporting them have been pelting stones and destroying property. Those who are afflicted must be protected. That's the law.
Angela, ask your question. You haven't responded to it.
Which one?
He said, are you protecting the public or the regime?
We're protecting the public. That is our responsibility. We are voted into power to protect the public.
By declaring that a red flag has been raised?
That is one person who made it, and I'm here to understand why he made that statement.
The President Museveni, speaking in Naguru, said almost the same thing. He said the police will be strengthened. He said we'll deal with those who caused the death of Ariong, and added that strengthening law to deny repeat offenders from not getting bail and other things.
Obviously, anybody who has been responsible for this fracas will be held accountable under the law. That's no, whether it is the police, whether it is the civilian, will be held accountable under the law.
Okay, we'll take a few messages here. Moses Wamani says, police must crack down all those heartless hooligans who keep walking to work just to destabilize others. David Genesis says, wants me to ask you, he says, ask him where will he hide from, because his government is falling anytime. Number 2, police spokesman is saying the kid killed in Arua was killed from street, not from bedroom. Was Ariong killed from the bedroom? Like to respond to this? These are the comments from David. Listening to us.
Well, I don't have much to say to that. You know, Ariong was not killed from the bedroom. He was killed while on duty. In fact, he was the officer in charge of Kafumba Mukasa police post. He was on duty when he met his death. So he wasn't in his home or in his bedroom. He was on duty.
Enoch Odris Nsoboga says, if we are talking about innocent killings, we shall also talk about that innocent kid that was shot in Masaka. The president didn't visit. Why? And what was a police officer doing at a demonstration without protective gear?
Ariong was in charge of the police post. He didn't know there were going to be demonstrations or riots. The information we got was that the mayor was going to inspect his roads and drainage, not demonstrations. So what reason had you to put on a helmet? It's when the situation started escalating that reinforcements were brought. Ariong had no time to go back and bring his helmet.
The first part of the question?
The first part, please, if you
Part of the question was, when the kid was shot in Masaka, the president didn't visit. Why? If you're talking about
at least the president sent a representative. The Inspector General of Police visited the family. The president doesn't have to be everywhere. He can delegate. But in this case, he delegated, and the Inspector General visited the family of the kid.
In the incident on Wednesday,
yes,
was there a failure of intelligence to know exactly what was going to happen? And is this what could have caused the killing of Ariong?
If you get communication from an important man like the Lord Mayor in writing, what reason do you have to doubt him? This is not a failure of intelligence.
You also do in intelligence. You must gather intelligence.
What I can question is the dishonesty of the mayor for misleading and lying on his letter, and that he was going to do inspections when he was going to do the contrary.
Are you going to charge the mayor?
That is for the investigators to undertake. His culpability in this matter is part of the investigation process.
Let's take the break and come back to more feedback from our listeners.
It's live, it's hot, provocative, and digs deep into the issues.